Well, we got a new interview from Superman star Rachel Brosnahan, and she has dove in pretty deep in explaining how James Gunn's new DCU reboot sets itself apart from previous versions of the Man of Steel. And there's a key element missing, which honestly, I don't think we need. Let's take a couple minutes to dive into what she said about the upcoming film, what's missing, and why it's perfectly okay. Well, to be fair, over the decades we have seen a lot of takes on Superman, both on the big and the small screen. Now, typically, most interpretations of the legendary hero start with the origin story, or at least retell parts of the origin story. This has been pretty consistent through many shows, and although there have been exceptions, Superman's origin is one of the most iconic ever, and typically new projects do not hesitate in retelling that part of the tale. Now, director James Gunn has already confirmed that his version, the upcoming DCU reboot, will definitely skip Kal-El's early life on Earth, and it's going to kick off when he's already embraced his role as Superman. And now Lois Lane herself, Rachel Brosnahan, has kind of revealed that this is what made her most excited for the film and for audiences to experience. Now, in a recent interview with Collider, she said, quote, "I also love that this is not an origin story. We've seen the origin story done so well a number of different times, but we come into a world that already exists. Lois and Clark are working at the Daily Planet, monsters exist in Metropolis, Lex Luthor has Luthor Corp. We drop in a point in their relationship that I've never seen before. They've been together for about 3 months, and they're asking some questions about the future of their relationship. They're not sure if this is something that was just a really great fling or something that could be forever. And they really have opposite worldviews, and they bump up against each other in that way. So it was a really fun way into a familiar story." Now, honestly guys, this sounds very similar to what they did in Superman and Lois, just a little earlier in their relationship. That show followed the pair after they had 2 sons and moved back to Smallville, maybe 15 years into the marriage. It definitely created a new dynamic and storytelling format for that show, and by doing it here, James Gunn might be leaning into what worked for the CW. Now, I did find it interesting, she said they'd been together for about 3 months, and this kind of gives you an idea of about how long he's been Superman in Metropolis. I suspect he didn't walk into the Daily Planet and hook up with Lois on the very first day, so more than likely they had probably 3 to 6 months prior, suggesting to me that the Man of Steel has been in operation in the city for right around 1 year. I also like the fact that she did confirm that monsters exist in Metropolis. That is something for me that indicates, well, that need for Superman. The general destruction that the Man of Steel brings, well, I could see how people could shape up against that. And, well, monsters change people's minds. Classic Superman stories often see him facing off with all kinds of interesting villains, which often come in the form of monsters, especially in that Silver Age that James Gunn has talked about so much. Now, as far as their relationship goes, I do like the idea that they're going to bump up against each other in that kind of way, suggesting Superman's view might actually be tailored or filtered through Lois's, creating an interesting dynamic that could drive the film. There's a couple of tidbits in the trailer where you see them sitting together in the apartment with the giant glowing orb over the city in the background, and they're definitely talking about something. I think this is exactly what's going on there, and I have the distinct feeling that Superman might be waning a bit in his role as a hero, and Lois is going to serve as that inspiration. I'm also really hoping that Lois is not your classic damsel in distress. That kind of cliche doesn't work anymore and is a little, well, run down. I like the idea of nobody knowing who Superman is and Lois and Clark able to run this path on their own. It sounds like that's what's going on, and it's definitely going to be a brand new take on the story on the big screen that worked pretty well on the small screen. Obviously, we're watching Superman pretty closely. I can't wait to get the next trailer. We got an extended preview that gave us a nice look at the Fortress of Solitude, Crypto, and some of Superman's robots. But after that drop, James Gunn said he's almost done with the second trailer, and I am sure that's coming our way in the next couple of weeks, and will reveal some details that we previously had no idea about. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of the updates, and until we know more, what do you guys think? Do you like this dynamic between Lois and Clark for the upcoming Superman film? And do you feel like Superman still needs an origin story in order to work on the big or small screen? Or has it been told enough that people already know the story? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Now, before you take off though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily videos and we want to be your place for all the Marvel and DC news, but we're going to bring it to you truthfully and transparently so you're really in the know.